Yeah, look at that. Ready to rumble. And if I was at home looking at all these screens, I'd go, what? But we do what we gotta do. Zooms on, because the kids that come in from Zoom like to keep track of it in there. This hybrid is, I'm so glad we're just back.
Yes.
Just Have you ever used Google Classroom? It's free, and that's where I put my stuff.
Do we have to get it?
You're in it, because that's how I teach.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And it doesn't cost you any money, and I've invited you, so when you check your Gmail,
I was wondering why it said that. Like, is this online or what is this?
yeah, this is where all your materials are. So if it's new, it's just kind of going, what is up there, because it's not here. If I touch that, I have no idea, because that's pretty little. Got people joining. Hola. Krishna. Krishna.
Progress.
I've been home can mute if you'd like, thanks. How about now, Stephen? Better? All right. Hola? Stephen?
Hello? Now I can hear you.
Okay, so in review, we gotta go through a thunder boomer in your distance. We gotta do the syllabus, so I gotta go through that. We'll talk a little bit about the timeline for the semester. And I kind of showed you what the semester looks like in 15 weeks. These are the things we do. I don't give quizzes or tests. I have you give speeches. And that can always change. My first semester here a couple of years back, I made all these tests for each chapter. They were multiple choice, and I just went, oh, it takes a whole class period to take a test on one chapter. So I cut it back instead of 25, 50 questions, 10 questions. And then I went, no, I'd rather have you do the variety of speech categories. And it goes for a pretty fast semester. When you want to look for your grades, they are in UTTC Edu. So when you check your class there and go into gradebook, you click it, you'll see all the assignments for the semester. Today you stand for 5 seconds by yourself up in front of the class before you head out. That's your first activity. And then I know you were here because I take a roll at the end of class. The kids on Zoom can do the same thing. It's nice to have the cameras on because then we can see you're really worth it. You know, you're visual as well as audio. And then we'll go through what you're going to do in class on Thursday. And you're going to sit with a partner in crime, don't have to stand, chair, and you're going to draw a couple numbers. And then there's going to be a packet of several interview questions, a couple 100,000. And then if you pick a 6, you have to answer question 6. And so your partner will ask you that question. So it's a random draw. And we're going to watch a practice one. The idea came to me when I saw the link that somebody sent me from Sioux Falls. And I went, hey, I should throw this as kind of an opener for my speech class here. And so we've done it. We did it at the end of the semester 1 year. And somebody said, you know, somebody in class, a student said, you know, this would be really good at the beginning because then we learn a little bit about each other. And I said, there you go. So I put this activity at the beginning of the semester. So we get to hear your stories. You are interesting folk. And when you have these random questions asked you, it's kind of like a job interview where you don't know what they're going to ask you. You know, what's your best, you know, what's your biggest strength? What is one of your weaknesses? I mean, in a standard job application, they can ask you questions like, oh my God, I never thought of that. And so we'll watch a practice one. My daughter is a lawyer in Sioux Falls, and she works with a lot of businesses in Sioux Falls and was put on the spot in a radio for entrepreneurs in Sioux Falls. And so it was kind of fun when she sent that link. And I went, oh, I'm going to use this kind of assignment for you guys. And it's interesting because you can tell stories. So you're going to stand, I'll show you what the topic inventory looks like in Google Classroom. So if you've never been inside it, you've been invited, so please join it. That assignment isn't due until Monday, so you've got some time. It's a very short assignment because we're just getting used to being students. And you got to just kind of get through your first week. I just graduated in 2018 for the 4th time, and so it's like You never forget what it's like being a student. And so it's like, just get used to, get through your first week, get used to your classes, get somewhat organized, because you come late or you forget, it happens, but just show up for the next class session. And also I'll do a little bio about me and my background. But everything that we do is in Google Classroom. And so if you've checked your emails in the last few hours, you'll be invited to Fall 21 Com 110B. It's a class, it's a requirement for a lot of associate's degrees. You will always use speech in your backgrounds for future use. Depends on what professions, careers you enter. But speech can be interesting because you get to do some research down the road. And if you totally suck at research, you'll get just a little bit better in here. I can't do a lot in 15 weeks, but we've had some nice success in the past couple semesters. So it's even with Zoom land, we still see really nice development of informative speeches, persuasive speeches, etc. All right. So let's go back into UTTC and get through I'm sure you've had plenty of syllabus going through, but we can do it. Now in your UTTC on the left, we're mandated. I mean, we have to do this to tell you what the class is about. The syllabus is always the first day of class. And it's just connecting the dots. Where is Jane located? What's her number? What's her phone number? What's her email? What building is she in? When does our class meet? Et cetera, et cetera. And our math's mandated, we have to. I've got a couple comorbidities and reasons why I want to live. So it's like, it's gonna help. And I got some of these 95 ones and they're super thick, but you can all hear me because I project pretty well. You can't, but we go through the syllabus because it oversees the class. So if you have a late assignment and you are arguing, well, I did get it done. Well, down here it tells you what I do with late assignments. In a speech class, we're going to be on a schedule. And if we have 15 kids in here, I'm going to have 7 kids speak on one day and 8 on another. And there's no going back because we're not going to have the time. So we just go forward. So if you miss that speech day, it's not going to help your overall GPA. So you want to really make sure for these major speeches you show up, okay? And are prepared. I won't let you give a speech without an outline because that's where I come in. I like it organized. And I give you templates, and I don't know if that's right. But last summer, they got a template for the demo. They just filled in their stuff. They got a template for the speech to inform. They got a template for the speech to persuade. But for the final, no template. But they had MLA format down. They didn't need it anymore. And I felt good about it because I thought, okay. Sometimes I think it shouldn't be doing this, but then I think it kind of guides you with the format of how to put together an MLA paper. Now, if you're in a psych class, Brett's going to have APA, a little different. Okay, my dissertation of 200 pages was APA. Shift gears, go to MLA for speech and humanities here, not a problem. Just some little things are different. But then you take a Dakota class, and he's either Turabian or Chicago manual. Okay, and I think his master's was just done an AP over at NSU. So you see that how you put a paper, just the format of it changes from teacher to teacher. That's just what we do. And the librarians know what they're doing. And so they put together good databases. So you just don't get crap from Google. We go into databases to find out what the scientists are saying, or what the writers are saying, or what the artists are saying. And it's just a really good exercise at the beginning of this class to get you in there. play around with it because you need to get the information that's decent. Okay? Instead of what we're reading on social media, that you know that there's this prize called a database. And they're not going to lie yet. Okay? They're published, they're studied. And so it should be just used, even in the database to find good stuff. Right? And so we do a little bit of that in here too, because you have to have speeches with some expert information. And you can cough that up. That's not expected of you, but you can research it. And then when you give them credit in your speech, you're on your way. Okay. All right. So here we go. So when you check your Gmails later, you have been invited. So far I have 4. And by the end of class Thursday, we'll have the majority in here. I just sent this morning, so it does take a little while. All right, here we go. Buckle your seatbelts. We're going to do the syllabus as fast as I can. So there's our class. All right, but you see that the biggies are attendance. See that? That's the chunk of change. And they added to it this summer. So it's just, it got a little longer, but that's where we're focusing. But there's really good information on every syllabus the teacher gives you. So if you need to find me, it's right there. Okay. So here we go. Course information, we're in fundamentals of public speaking. The course engages the student in the theory and practice of public speaking with emphasis on content, organization, language, delivery, and critical evaluation of messages. Because we're going to listen to speeches. And then I create a Jamboard and I ask you, well, what's your takeaway? What was the attention getter? What were word choices? You know, what do we select as public speakers? Information, we're section B, meeting times, meeting location, the delivery mode, they wanted us to write face-to-face, but my Zoom people, I have you on a second laptop here, so don't think I'm not checking you out over there in the corner, in the darkness. I go by Jane, you can call me other things, but I just expect you to call me Jane. That's my middle name, that's what I go by. And so if you ever have a question or email, hi Jane, good morning Jane, it's not a problem, call me Jane. There's my phone number, my office is right below us. And my office hours are posted there. Our textbook, they've had this one here for a long time, but they got a new edition and it's got more up-to-date speeches inside it and more technology use. Highly recommend you buy it. I know they're not cheap, but I do have you read chapters. They're very short, lots of pictures, but they have good data. So if you don't know how to write a good introduction, it's in here. So it's a really good guide on the side. Now I have tests made for every chapter. We don't have time. I made 50-point tests for each chapter and I went, I don't think so, because it would take a whole class period to take it. So I'm more of a practitioner to have you do a variety of speeches. Okay. But that's brand spanking new. Edition is 2020. Course objectives. There are 6 of them. Number 1, describe the process. Because you know there's a speaker, there are receivers. Some of you are already on your iPads. You're already thinking about your grocery list. You're thinking about the weekend. But we also communicate differently with children versus relatives versus friends versus TikTok versus Snapchat. We have different ways to communicate messages, okay? And so that's part of the communication process, is that we have different audiences, different receivers, different styles and delivery. Number 2, I'm kind of gung-ho here. to use research skills to prepare speeches. And remember, you pick the topics, okay? So you get to develop a list of topics you would be interested in researching. And then you got to dig in the database to find out more information about it. That's called research. And the more you do it, and these librarians have put everything together neatly, it's pretty crazy easy to do. And we're going to practice it before the weekend, because I always take care of one session in research before you head out. 3, compose outlines for public speeches. I'm so bad. For example, we get down into the demo speech. Sample outline. All right, that's MLA, the format, really plain, very boring. And you have this. This is in the classroom. And this stuff up here, you'll cut, and then you'll begin with your name, teacher, class, date. Everything is MLA, Times New Roman, size 12. And so all you do is copy and paste this on a new document. So this is how you outline your demonstration speech. But the MLA formatting has been done for you. Okay? And then you'll gradually do a couple more. But then by the final speech, you do MLA on your own. And I saw some decent work this summer. I went, oh my. They don't need me anymore. They got MLA down, and it's awesome. But I think to get started, and I argue this with myself, I go, should I allow this? Is this helpful? Yeah. Is it right? It gets you started, okay? And that's what we got to do at the beginning of the semester. But that's an example of an outline. You see it's double spaced. I prefer one-page outlines to a page and a half. They don't have to be full sentences. And that's how you put your speech together. It's kind of like a skeleton. Let's go back. Demonstrate effective use of voice and body to deliver public speeches. Recognize and understand public speaking terminology. And understand the need for effective oral communication skills in professional and personal settings. Because we all communicate. Sometimes we don't talk, but our physical, when we're sitting, tells us something non-verbally. I met a cousin and her 3 daughters last night that I've never met. They're from Seattle, Tacoma. They spent a week in North Dakota finding out where her folks lived in the 30s and 40s. They went to colleges, to the high schools of both parents, who have both passed. But I met them downtown for supper, and I never met these 4 people. So is that weird? After all these years to meet first cousin? It's strange. But my mother's family, 5 out of the 6 went out there for work after the war, World War II. And they just never came back to visit. And so I'm meeting these people for the very first time. I know who they are, I have pictures, etc. And so we just knuckle bumped, laughed a little, but as soon as I heard my cousin's voice, I heard her mother's voice. And she's been passed for 20 some years. And her posture and her smile, and I went, oh my God, that's my Auntie Jo. And so right away, and then she was smiling because I think she heard my mother's voice, and she had met my mother several times. But it's like, just like different kind of communication event, you know, take charge, go forth. And I felt after I met them, I knew them all my life. You know, her 3 daughters are fantastic. One daughter has 4 sons, another daughter has 4 sons. And my daughter Kate 2 weeks ago just had identical grandsons for me. boys. So she's got four, a 4-year-old, a 1-year-old, and two-week-old boys. She got 4 boys. So these daughters of my first cousin, we all have these daughters with 4 boys. So all these connections. But every communication event makes us kind of reach, get organized, we care about our delivery style and how we come across. And it can be virtually or face-to-face. It can be with a handwritten note. So there's a lot of different ways we do communicate. And it's a very, like a rubber band. Communication is very flexible. It can stretch, it can snap if we're not nice, cause injury. So if you think of the process, you're in on it, it's good. Chapter 1. Grades are 90, 80, 70, 60. I'm pretty blunt. If you don't show up for major speeches, it's very difficult to land that C because we end up with 500-600 points total. I'm a total points girl. So show up for sure the major speeches. If not, it's going to hurt. And these are your major speeches. The first one, we do mock radio interviews on Thursday. I'm all prepped for you. You'll have a partner in crime. Demonstration speech will be next week, 5 minutes. You have to demonstrate how to build something, how to do something. Impromptus, we do 4 for the whole semester. In a week, we'll start with our first one. It's a random topic. You get a little prep time. You get 15 seconds to talk. The second one goes to 30 seconds. The third one goes to 1 minute. And the last one we do at the end of November is 2 minutes long. And I've had students go for 7 minutes. Very quiet, shy guy, first semester here. I gave him coffee for a topic. I just draw him out an envelope. He goes up there, he was always in class, always did his work, very quiet, reticent. And he started talking, and all of a sudden, I have it on video. And then he does this, and I'm going, oh, he's really relaxed into the semester. And he went on and on about coffee, what his mother drinks for coffee, how she likes her coffee. Then he went in on his father and how his father and what brands his folks drank, if they use cream or sugar, on and on. And he started telling us his coffee stories. And so after 7, I couldn't stop him because I thought he is telling us what he needs to tell us. And there was no hesitancy. And I always think of him when I think of impromptu because he took one word and did a grand speech. Every once in a while, somebody gets the word and they go, I can't do this. And I go, well, then there's another word for you. Okay. All right, let's keep going. I wonder how he's doing. I always think of him. Informative takes 3 references from your database. Persuasive is 6 to 8 minutes. That's the big one of the semester. I put together templates for group discussion. I build the Google Doc and then I'll add 3 to 4 students per group. It's a tribal issue. And you'll each need to do 1 article for reference, for research for those. Special occasion speech is your final, 2 minutes long. So we end right before Thanksgiving with our persuasive, and we come back and do our final. And then textbook readings. Communication, all students are required to regularly check their accounts for assignments, detailed instructions, and announcements. Students are expected to check their student account regularly for any updates or coursework changes. It is important to provide the instructor, your advisor with your current email, phone numbers, and alternate contact info. Class cancellations you'll get on your cell phones. They're very good about that with weather, roads, tornadoes, hail. It's instant online when I signed up for it. You sign up for that on the very front page of UTTC. And it's really fine in the morning to get that information before you head out. It's whiteout blizzard, 40 below. So that emergency information goes directly to your phone. In fact, after I was done at UND, I kept getting them from UND in Grand Forks. There's a tornado west of Grand Forks. Well, okay. Attendance. Now you see this is the biggest one. So we'll go through it and then we'll be able to wrap the syllabus up and do some more because we've got 15 minutes left. Class attendance is very important for academic success of students enrolled at UTTC. Instructors are required to report student attendance in the GEMS by data management system. I do it daily, on a daily basis during census period, the first 2 weeks, and the first week of summer semester, and throughout the academic semester. You can track and monitor your own attendance. UTTC recognizes particular circumstances that may arise that affect the student's ability to attend class. Therefore, it is important students communicate with their instructors regarding any emergencies that cause them to miss class, medical, family. Regardless of the circumstances, the student is responsible for obtaining any information such as assignments, handouts, and any course changes or announcements that he or she may have missed because of the absence. The student may refer to the course assignments in Google Classroom, in my UTTC Edu, contact another student enrolled, or set up a meeting. Attendance, completion of assigned readings and assignments, engagement is the equivalent of participation. Student grades will be impacted by the frequency and quality of participation. Faculty members are required to report student non-attendance during the census period. We have to do that. That's a mandate. Fed regulations pertaining to financial aid. So if I have a no-show for 2 weeks and I sent an early alert out Friday, then I send another early alert out next Friday, the financial aid office knows because it's all recorded. And that's where the buck stops sometimes. So instructors will initiate an academic attendance early alert using the retention tool. Now they changed the way we take. So I'm going to go down to here. Attendance is entered as present, absent, unexcused, or excused. This morning I had 7 unexcused, first day class. College, excused is college sanctioned absences. But with cell phones and iPads, you can still, if you're traveling, if you have Wi-Fi, you can attend via Zoom. Kids did it all the time last year. Absent, unexcused are, with the exception of those referred to as college sanctioned, are reported in the system. Students are still able to obtain information about missed assignments and complete those assignments. According to the criteria for late assignments that is detailed in the course syllabi. Excused, college sanctioned absences, sanctioned absences are reported as excused. It could be mandatory military obligation. I had a National Guardsman who had to report, it was 4 to 6 weeks last spring. No communication. He had all his assignments, but he was at work for the military. And he did get his work done. And when he did come back, and I would see work trickle in, so he must have had off time where he got to do some homework. But he was in more than one class. So you have military, cultural events, funerals for immediate family members, religion, mandatory court appearances, and the participation in college activities at the request of college authorities. That includes academic and athletic. Instructors, this goes for all of yours, may request third-party documentation, and it goes through the VP, Dr. Badger. They're responsible for notifying the instructors of expected college sanctioned absences, because most athletes will have a calendar of their road trips. My experience has been that they've been very good about communicating, and I've got the calendar right by my desk. Letter D, participation class engagement. We hope to prepare you for the workforce by having high expectations for skills demonstrated in the classroom that can transfer into future employment. It includes your ability to be on time, to refrain from cell phone usage, holding side conversations, by providing positive contributions to the discussions, participating in individual or group activities, and being prepared. Students will be assessed during this semester on the ability to demonstrate these skills. E, we're almost there. We're getting close. Policy for late assignments. We support and foster your responsibility for completing and submitting assignments on or before scheduled due dates. If an assignment is due, the student should make every effort to submit the assignment on time. Sometimes there is a life event, so communication is key. Late assignment deadlines will vary among departments, but will not exceed more than 5 business days after which the assignment was initially due. Assignment due dates, late assignment deadlines are all outlined in the course syllabi. Assignments not submitted by the initial deadline date will be reflected in the course gradebook as a 0. And then it varies from faculty to faculty. The amount of points deducted for late work is the discretion of the teacher. Missed tests, exams, and quizzes. I have them, but we don't use them in this class. We do speeches. Early alerts go out usually Thursday or Friday. And you'll get emails, your advisors will get emails. It's a timely ID and intervention to work with individual students to assist in overcoming the challenges for college success. Cell phone use, if you get your apps on your cell phone and you're in Google Classroom or you're in Zoom, I use it to stay organized with documents. It only rang once this morning, so make sure you just put it on silent or turn it off completely. And that will vary from teacher to teacher. But what's nice is that if you're in a group discussion and you're in a group with 4 people and you all have your articles, you each found an article about your topic, and then you have to define some words. So then you go to dictionary.com. And you might have somebody on the phone looking up each of those keywords, and then another one on the other phone typing in the definition on the Google Doc that you all have open from your phone. So they can be really an organizing tool instead of the games. I mean, I know I do too. So it's like if we use them to organize, stay afloat, stay organized, they can be just a wonderful educational tool. Just to see your work, get your feedback, look at your grades, besides checking messages, et cetera, So, in fact, 2 years ago, I said, well, have somebody look up the definition, read it out loud, the other one type it in. Or else, if you're really good, copy and paste the definitions over to your Google Doc. That's even faster. So you'll see that using the Wi-Fi and the organization of it can be very helpful. Student behavior, students will conduct themselves in a responsible and respectful manner in the hallways, in the classroom, in the library, in the cafeteria, anywhere on campus. And we know that student behavior that interferes with learning will not be tolerated. Faculty are expected to maintain professional management of classroom activities before, during, and after class. Plagiarism, and this is where your databases really will help you. So if you say where you got your information from, your butt is covered. So if you say the title or the author while you're giving out somebody else's writing, you're good. Right? If you say it like it's yours, you're not good. And that's called plagiarism, and it's a red flag. And they have something in the grade book now called Turn It In. It's been out for a while, but it red flags everything that's been listed. So if you turn in a speech, or you turn in a paper and you turn it in, and you have a high percentage of things that haven't been cited by where you got it, can't pass. That has to be redone. Or some places you just take a 0. So plagiarism is the term for taking credit for work that is not your own. This means you cannot take materials from articles, books, websites, and say it's yours. You cannot let your friends prepare your assignments. You cannot copy an assignment from a student who took the same course in another semester. Plagiarism is taken seriously. Providing work that is not your own or that is not unique to the assignment is inappropriate and a form of dishonesty. The consequences of plagiarism are serious. You will be given an F on the specific assignment or the entire course at the instructor's discretion. If you need advice on how to appropriately cite the work of others, please ask. And usually if you just put in the title or the author's name, according to, this is from a website, you're covered. You'll just give people credit for their work. Examples of violations are lying about the reason for an absence, signing someone else's name to a sign-in sheet. Please keep in mind that students generally ask their instructors for recommendations. Because we write scholarship letters. I wrote 4 this summer. And they got money. And scholarships, you don't pay that. They're cash. Students with disabilities, 2 left, and we shall continue. United Tribes Technical College recognizes its responsibility for making reasonable accommodations to ensure there is no discrimination on the basis of a disability. The Disability Services Office coordinates reasonable accommodations, support services, and appropriate referrals for the purpose of removing barriers and providing an equitable learning environment. If you have a disability, you may contact the Disability Services Office. We have one on campus, and there's the number. And L, Title IX. Title IX is a federal civil rights law that prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex, including sexual harassment, rape, and sexual assault. United Tribes Technical College is committed to upholding the law and standards that promote respect and human dignity in a safe environment. Sexual misconduct and relationship violence in any form violates our mission, cultural values, student code of conduct, and may also violate federal and state laws. Faculty members are considered mandatory reporters and are required to report incidents of sexual misconduct and relationship violence to the Title IX office. If you or someone you know has been impacted by sexual assault, dating and domestic violence, stalking, or sexual exploitation, you can find appropriate resources on the UTT campus and the community. If you have not been, but you know someone, these are referral numbers. So the Title IX office here, we have campus safety and security, we have academic and personal counselors, domestic violence advocate, we have the AARC crisis line, and the North Dakota Helpline. So some students in my past classes have just copied and pasted those on their phone, in their notes on their phone, so they have them handy and share them with who needs it. Now, they also require us to put a PDF here in case you want to print out or download the syllabus, so you have all this data. It's 144. A little bit about me. Now, when you put Google Slides or you put memes together, you can make your own memes. I mean, there's tons of memes out there that would be appropriate for a particular speech. But most of these are free. Meme makers, GIFs, you can make your own or find ones that you can slide over to a Google slide or a PowerPoint slide or a Prezi, whatever visual you want to use. You don't have to do 300 visuals for a speech. Some students will put the whole speech on PowerPoints because they like slide to slide to slide. Some will use 2 or 3 slides, the main points. Some will just start with a slide or a meme to get attention, whether it's humor, whether it's a famous quote. And so when I put this together a year ago, I go, these put something at the top there. So then I'm going through crazy memes and I go, oh yeah, and it moves. It's a TikTok before there was TikTok. But again, here's my information, my emails. I can just look at those all day, those jellyfish. Anybody in here been bit by a jellyfish? You don't want to. Oh, let's see. Is it moving anywhere? Frozen. It is. There we go. Okay, then we'll just continue on. Maybe not. Here we go. So here's one that says, how I felt in high school, and what classes I was taking, good grades, good extracurricular, had a job, got along for the most part with my parents, and then how I feel in college. It can be true, but get through that first week. My background, my bachelor's is in English, speech, and theater. I did it before I turned 21. I wish I would have stayed till I was at least 21. My master's is in speech from UND. I also went back to school for a technology degree. They gave 1,500 laptops to our students at a high school I was at in South Dakota, and they didn't train anybody. And I was empty nest, so I went back to school at Vermilion and got a technology degree. And then I just finished a doctorate at UND in 2018. I've taught at various levels. I've worked retail. I've done tons of theater because it's my passion. I did PR for college and radio and TV. I tell students, if you could visualize this week, walking out of here in December, first week, and being done, you'll do it. You got that idea in your brain and you go, if you can see that last class where you give a 2-minute speech for a special occasion, they go like that. And there's no final test. You can do this. You got to kind of, and everybody visualizes differently. My family, I have 3 children. This was at a concert we went to, I think down in Dickinson. Anyway, Christian, he works at the sugar beet factory in Hillsboro. He's my oldest. And then Kate's in Bismarck. She's an environmental scientist and just had the identical twin boys. And Elizabeth is an attorney in Sioux Falls. UND, went to school in Texas, and she's totally University of South Dakota. She said, no, Dakota's too cold. I said, come move to Bismarck. It's been hot all summer. But she loves Sioux Falls and she likes her South Dakota connections. Then I moved to Bismarck because I had a grandson and I didn't get to see him. Bad weather that winter. I was teaching over on the eastern side. So I moved to Bismarck so I could be closer to Andrew. He's 4 in preschool now. This was at UND December of 2018. Kate, who's expecting the almost 2-year-old Samuel, Andrew, and then her husband Jamie, who runs his business from the house. He and his brother have a trucking operation, and he has a semi or 2 of his own. I know he has 1 for sure. And then they just run trucks in a bus nation. He has a chemistry degree from UND, so I think he was thinking pharmacy for a while, but he's a very much an entrepreneur. And so he runs his business, it's in West Fargo, Bismarck, and Cooperstown, and they run the trucking operation. It's fascinating work. It's not without its problems, but he's a pretty good troubleshooter. He's crazy. That's hard. I I took it. And then there's Christian and Beth. And so they were there for my graduation, December 2018. He's totally a 2-year-old and has stolen my heart. Well, then 2 weeks ago, they added two more boys, identicals. It is crazy. And so Kate's now on family leave, but 2, and in my family, they're twins. My niece had identical girls 18 months ago, and it was her first, those were her first children. She was mid-40s in Minneapolis, and they're 18 months now, but it is double duty. Ask widely. And so 2 weeks ago on August 9th, Sam, who is a weight loss program, because I babysat in July, and Andrew got Paul, who's a little darker toned and a little hairier, and Jonah. He's got a little lighter skin and kind of a receding hairline, but Kate told me today they're at 7'9" and 7'6". She has 14 pounds. Isn't that crazy? So be glad you're just in a stupid speech class instead of 14, you know? It's like July was tough. But that's, you know, I'm a busy granny. But it's a lovely time and to be 5 minutes away from them. My favorite places, let's see. This one's really slow compared to 2.5. Western South Dakota, there's Crazy Horse Memorial. I'm in my leather gear. I went to Sturgis one summer. I'm sitting in class in Vermilion, taking statistics and a design class. My friend's saying he emails, "You go to Sturgis?" I'm like, oh my God, I've never been on a motorcycle. We went. It was the 3rd coldest. And my friend Bev, she gave me all her leather gear. You see all those pins? She had been there 14 times. Had her own Harley, had a dog named Harley. So I've never been on a motorcycle. So I said, Spanky, you gotta get me a helmet in Watertown. Well, it was too tight, so he took the new one, I got his loose one. And we made it to Redfield. I didn't know, because we met a couple semi-trucks. And when you're on a motorcycle for the first time in your life going 3 million miles an hour with a lunatic driver, that's the freaky part. But we got to Redfield, went to the Dairy Queen, gassed up, and I said, 5 days later, got home, I wrote an 8-page poem about it because it was crazy good. And we're mostly in Spearfish Canyon. I think we drove through Sturgis once, but you start seeing the meth beds at the very end. And so it's like, I've been there, done that. Key West, New York City with my daughters and niece, and I love Canada. And then 4 years ago, I had to go to England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. And I would go back there and have flash. Great food. Just great countryside. Went in June. You can always do a speech about your favorite place. They make great visuals. Like if you want to tell us about Jamaica or Cancun. And there's, next slide is just doing some plays. And this one was always a fun one because I had to do 8 different characters in 90 minutes. There's a collage of a few. And then this one I did my first winter in Bismarck. And I'm doing an exercise where she takes a lemon, imaginary, and puts it in her butt cheek. And then she's going through all these things about exercising with holding a lemon in your butt cheek. So then the dudes behind me, and they really don't care. But it was supposed to be, I was supposed to be getting their attention, but then they were just doing BS behind me. The audience was laughing hard and cracking. And so that was one that I did here. And then this summer, they put me as 2 killers in Capital Shakespeare, Julius Caesar. We got to wear lots of wigs, but I'm down there as Pindarus, who was a slave of Cassius. and killed him. So we had to do the choreography with the daggers on how, to assassinate, to kill. And so I portrayed Pinderest. Then the other guy I portrayed, Shakespeare wrote for men, but they put me as a bad guy, the insane Casca, who does the first stab in the back of Caesar, as he dies from 33 stab wounds. Yep,
Do you ever work up at the Fort Todd Little Theater?
twice.
They did a pretty good show this last couple of years.
They did Grease this
Grease
summer.
this year, yeah.
Yeah, I've directed Grease with high school kids. You can't lose with Grease.
Yeah,
My niece and sister-in-law from Carrington went up and watched it. They said it was really good. Yeah, I did work there 2 summers in a row. Not boring. It was fun. Bats would fly. We were in the square. We weren't in town. We were in Fort Totten Square.
they have a pretty nice after Roosevelt Park.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
So it's changed. But I used to love driving out to Castle Lake and go to the square. But yeah, my 2 summers, I thought there were birds up there while I was singing. And somebody said, Jane, they've got bats. I go, oh. Yeah. So, and costuming it was so hot. It was 100 degrees in July, but I would do it again. And then I've got a slide on some of my favorite books and writers. And then here's a favorite picture from graduation, December 2019, with 2 culinary arts students that were in my humanities class. So that kind of tells you my background. Again, we do weekly notes, terms, sometimes quizzes, but usually class activities, our speeches. And if you go into UTTC, you'll see the entire semester where it says week by week down here. It shows you the whole class and how I put it together week by week. So if you're curious, what are we doing here? That's what we do. All right. Zoom people, are you still with me?
Yeah.
Good. Because we want to get you out a little bit early so you can go get a iced tea. Then what I'm going to ask you to do in Zoom land and in here, does somebody have a phone they could time 5 seconds with? Cool. So all I expect is for you to come up to the front of the room. You do not have to give speech. But what I tell students is, bend your knees a little. Because if you're really strict and really frozen, there's a tendency to tip. And if you cross your legs, you probably will tip over. So if you stand shoulder width apart, bend at the knees, and just kind of keep that as your rule. Loosen up a little bit. I know it's tough because 99.9% of people do not like getting up in front. Okay, but if you're organized, you get acclimated, get used to it, you can do it. Okay. And so what I want you to do is come up, stand for 5, and you'll get 5 points in the grade book. So you'll have either an F or an A in your class today. And we've got a timer. So when the 5 seconds, just give them a thumbs up. And another thing, to cheat or to trick people, when I'm scared or I have anxiety or I'm nervous, and I always get nervous for a few seconds before I go to a play. It's like, and like Brett said yesterday, I'm nervous. He had his first class at BSC last night. I go, first couple minutes, mosey into it. I always look at the audience or the people right above their skulls. So it looks kind of weird, but I'm not looking at you, am I? You see that I'm just above you? But from over there, it looks like I'm looking at you. Do you see the trick? So if you have a difficult time with a direct eye contact at the beginning of class, and maybe in life, it's a cultural thing. But we're talking, it took a couple weeks to get those kids to look at me, but it's a cultural thing, it's a thing of respect. And it's like, no, Take your time, do what you gotta do. Just like that. All right, and then I'm just gonna do roll call. Machine going once, twice. No, I didn't see that even. Vanessa, please, we'll stand up yonder. Nice to see that, you're making all kinds of money still at that job. Oh. That's all right. Me, well. And so, once she gives you the thumbs up, you're done.
We want to talk about.
Don't talk, you're mute. You just have to look at us. And if you don't want to look. Good. Rachel Dixon. Rachel, are you on Zoom? Oh, this morning was such a cool. My on Zoom is like full blast. It woke us all up. Okay, this one. Makasatami. Makasatami.
Mazakahominy,
Is that close?
that sounds like it. I don't know.
Makasatami. Makasatami.
Is there an AZ?
No, Makas. Makasatami. Because last year, I remember Omni. And I think I got them last year, but not. Julian? Is it Julian? Yeah. Oh, all right. Can you go first? You stand for 5. 5 points, stand for 5. Good job. Stephen Fisher.
What do you want me to do?
Can you stand for 5 seconds?
Oh, if I could get out of my bed. Oh,
Over is it?
Oh, turn the light on. We're proud of you for getting out of bed at 2 in the afternoon. Remember, class starts at 1.
all right.
Donald. Oh, that was my sentence officer. What was it? On a scale of 1 to 10, you're at a 2? It's doable, isn't it? Do you go by John or Donald? Don? Okay, I'll underline the deal then. Audrey. Thank you. My niece was Audrey and my mother was Audrey.
I was there that.
Brooklyn. Brooklyn. Hola, Oosterhout. Mackenzie. Mackenzie. Abby. Haley. Krishna. Krishna.
What do I have to do?
Have to stand up for 5 seconds. Ready, set, go.
I'm standing.
We see you. Thank you. Famous. Cool. Thank you. Tanner. Tanner. Sarah. Brianna. Gabriel, are you on Zoom? Nicholas? Would you go by Nick or Nicholas?
Nick.
Kenzie? Kenzie? I was like, dark. Samantha? William? Thank you. And Mystic. Mystic. Thank you. Did I miss anybody? All right. Once you get into Google Classroom, you're going to see mock radio interviews. This is what we're doing on Thursday. So if you want to take a look at some of the questions you may be asked, you can just kind of scroll down. I've numbered these, and so you'll draw like 6 to ask your partner, and they'll draw 6 to ask you. So if you're asked the question, what would be your spirit animal? And, you know, you don't have to be serious about every answer. But I also in there have an example of a mock radio interview. And I'm not going to show it today. My daughter was interviewed by some radio DJ about entrepreneurship in Sioux Falls. And then they took numbers from the audience listeners on the radio. So they call in, she needs to do number 3. Well, Beth didn't know what number 3 was, but it was kind of a delight. And some were hard. And so if they get too difficult, then we'll just choose another number because you got a couple hundred to choose from. So first class is done. You guys have 15 weeks, 30 classes. We're already in the 20s. It goes fast. And so just get organized and stay on top of things. And I think you'll do really well. So, adios. Thank you. You have questions, you can email. Take me 2 weeks to learn names. I know Famous, I know John, I know Nick, I know William. You go by William, Will, or Bill? Will, I'll underline. So see you guys Thursday. All right? You too, thank you. Bye-bye, Zoom.